Today I'm taking a look at the VEVOR PCP air compressor. Got our instructions, and they're actually in full color, which is great. So this is nice. They gave us a bunch of O-rings, so if we ever need to replace anything, we can do that. But we also came with a ton of filters, so that is very nice. We got our AC power supply, but the cool thing about this is it also comes with a DC power supply. So if you're out and about, need to refill your bottles, you can do that from your car, or you can do that right at your house. So it's nice having two options to fill up your tanks. And then here is the nozzle to fill up your tanks. So there is the compressor. A little darker orange than that. It is about like that. Looks like you got our on-off switch here. We have a gauge here to let us know what the pressure is. We have a temperature readout, which is very important. Oh, this is cool. So in the event that this ever gives us an error, it actually has a key for what those errors are right on the compressor. So you have active cooling on the front. It looks like we also have active cooling on the side. We have an overload switch on the back, and then we got our two spots for connecting power. On the front, we got a relief. Looks like a blast port, so in the event that for whatever reason this becomes overpressurized, this will blow first instead of blowing up the whole tank. And then we have the coupler for our nozzle. So it's always important to keep our air clean. The way that we change that out is we just unthread this guy, and it looks like we already have a filter installed. So we have this plus 5 more, so this should last a very long time. It is nice that they actually have this capped off, so we don't have to worry about anything getting into the line before we get it. So I'll just clip that in like that. Plug power into the back. It does say that this can go up to 4,500 PSI, and it has an automatic shutoff, which is awesome. I'm using a Tippmann 48 CI, which is rated for 3,000 PSI. So I want to set that for 3,000. That way it will automatically shut off when it hits 3,000 PSI. And it does appear it is important you look at that straight on. So maybe down just a little bit. Right about there. And this is something I did not expect to see. They actually gave full color, full instructions on how to do full maintenance on this machine. Now that's actually really cool to me because most of the time people are trying to keep that information away from you. They don't want you working on the machinery. But this one, these guys are actually showing you how to do it. That's really cool. I'm going to connect it to my bottle. You want to make sure that this is all the way forward. And we will plug it in. Then we want to close the bleed valve and begin compressing. So I'm used to these things being very loud, and this one isn't quiet by any means, but it is not as loud as I expected. I expected to not really be able to run this inside in a small room. It's actually not that bad. Now as this is filling up, I'm just checking the gauge on the bottle as well as on the compressor, because I just want to make sure that they're staying consistent. So we are right now looking at 500 PSI on both the bottle and the gauge, which is excellent because I know this gauge is good, so that means this gauge is also good. So we passed 1,000 PSI. We are at about 1,200 PSI right now. The thing that's impressing me the most about this right now is the temperature. Like, this is nothing. I'm used to these PCP compressors. They have to have a whole, like a 5-gallon bucket filled with water. This is only air-cooled, and it's managing to keep the temperature down. So that's impressive. So we passed 1,500 PSI. We are at about 1,600 PSI right now. We are at a little over 2,000 PSI now. Maybe 2,100, 2,200. So we are at about 2,600. Maybe 27. Still only 32 degrees Celsius. That is very nice. Okay, cool. So it was getting pretty close to just on the other side of that needle. It does look like when the gauge needle gets just past this setting, that is when it's actually going to shut off. We have got 3,000 PSI on this bottle. So open the bleed valve, because we don't want to have pressure in this line when we disconnect it. There we go. We are ready to go. So the thing that impressed me the most about this right now is just that the temperature was able to keep itself that low. The compressors where you got to dump oil in, you got to have that big water tank on the side, even those have a hard time keeping themselves that cool. This did take a little while to actually fill up this tank, but the fact that you can actually run this thing portably means you don't have to go back home to fill this tank up. You can just grab a snack, use the restroom, grab a drink, and then get back into the action. So yeah, that is a very nice compressor.